The Haunting of Blackwood Manor. The rain fell in heavy sheets, pounding against the windows of Blackwood Manor. As the thunder roared and lightning illuminated the dark sky, the mansion seemed to cower beneath the onslaught of the storm. Perched atop a hill in a remote corner of the countryside, Blackwood Manor had a history steeped in darkness. For generations, the Blackwood family had resided within the mansion's walls, but the passing years had seen their fortune and legacy crumble. In the early 21st century, the last remaining heir, Samuel Blackwood, found himself alone in the decaying mansion, struggling to maintain his family's name and heritage. The village folk spoke of eerie occurrences at the manor, whispering about shadows that moved of their own accord and ghostly figures that wandered the halls. Samuel, a logical and skeptical man, brushed off these tales as mere superstitions. But as the days turned into nights, he could not ignore the growing unease that settled in the pit of his stomach. It was during one particularly stormy night that Samuel's skepticism would be put to the test. Alone in the mansion, he heard faint whispers echoing through the corridors. He dismissed them as the wind's tricks, but his unease grew as the whispers evolved into distinct, chilling words. "Samuel, help, trapped." The voice seemed to emanate from the walls themselves. Heart pounding, Samuel grabbed a candle and ventured into the dimly lit hallway. The air grew colder as he followed the sound, which led him to a hidden door he had never noticed before. With trembling hands, he pushed the door open to reveal a secret chamber, its walls adorned with old portraits of Blackwood ancestors. The flickering candlelight revealed a figure in the corner, a woman dressed in a gown from a bygone era. Her eyes were hollow, her expression etched in desperation. "Who are you?" Samuel's voice quivered as he spoke. The woman's spectral gaze met his, and her voice trembled like a whisper carried on the wind. Amelia Blackwood, doomed to wander, trapped between worlds. Amelia's tale unfolded before him. She had been a Blackwood herself, a distant relative who had fallen in love with a stable hand. Their affair was discovered, and in a fit of rage, her father had locked her away in the secret chamber, sealing her fate. Left to wither in darkness, she had died alone, her cries for help echoing through the years. Tears welled in Samuel's eyes as he listened to Amelia's tragic story. Determined to free her spirit from its torment, he set out to uncover the truth of her death and bring closure to the past. Guided by Amelia's ethereal presence, he delved into the dusty archives of Blackwood Manor, unearthing old letters and documents that hinted at the truth behind her demise. The more he uncovered, the more the mansion seemed to come alive with spectral activity. Objects moved on their own, whispers grew louder, and the atmosphere became suffocating. Samuel's once logical mind was now consumed by a relentless determination to set Amelia free. As he pieced together the puzzle, he learned of a long-forgotten ritual that could release Amelia's spirit from the shackles of the past. The ritual required a blood sacrifice, a grim and haunting prospect. Samuel hesitated, torn between his love for Amelia and the terror of the unknown. With each passing day, the activity within the mansion escalated. Shadows danced on the walls, and Samuel's sleep was haunted by nightmares of Amelia's anguished cries. The line between the living and the dead blurred, and he could no longer distinguish reality from the supernatural. Finally, with his heart heavy, Samuel performed the ritual. The mansion trembled, and a deafening silence enveloped him. The world seemed to hold its breath as he waited, unsure of what he had unleashed. Then, as abruptly as it had begun, the storm ceased. The air grew warm, and a sense of peace settled over Blackwood Manor. Amelia's figure appeared before him, no longer trapped by the chains of her past. With a soft smile, she thanked him and faded away, leaving behind a mansion that was finally at rest. The village tales of Blackwood Manor transformed from tales of horror to stories of redemption. Samuel's sacrifice had broken the cycle of suffering that had plagued his family for generations. The mansion, once a symbol of darkness, was now a beacon of hope and closure. But Samuel himself was forever changed. The line between the living and the dead had blurred in his mind, and he found himself haunted by the memory of Amelia's ghostly presence. He was never quite the same, forever caught between the realms of the rational and the supernatural. And so, the tale of Blackwood Manor became a cautionary one, a reminder that the past could not always be buried, and that the choices made in the present could echo through time, shaping the destiny of those who dared to uncover the secrets hidden within the shadows. The Lighthouse Keeper's Lament. On a rugged coastline battered by the relentless waves of the North Sea stood the Beacon's Reach lighthouse. With its towering silhouette against the stormy skies, it served as a guiding light for ships lost in the treacherous waters. But beyond its practical purpose lay a tale of tragedy and haunting that had plagued the lighthouse for generations. In the early 21st century, the lighthouse was automated, its once bustling keeper's cottage now abandoned. This solitude drew the curious, including Jenny Foster, an intrepid journalist who sought to uncover the mysteries that shrouded the Beacon's Reach lighthouse. Jenny arrived during a fierce storm, the waves crashing against the rocky shore, casting frothy spray high into the air. She navigated the narrow path leading to the lighthouse, her determination unwavering despite the eerie feeling that someone, or something, was watching her. As she entered the lighthouse, she felt a chill that had nothing to do with the weather. The air seemed heavy with a sense of despair, and the walls echoed with whispers carried by the wind. Ignoring the unease, Jenny began her investigation, determined to uncover the lighthouse's hidden history. In the dusty archives of a nearby town, she found accounts of a tragic incident that had occurred decades ago. The lighthouse keeper, a man named Thomas Hartley, had lost his wife to a shipwreck during a violent storm. Consumed by grief and guilt, he became obsessed with the sea, spending endless hours watching over the waves. As Jenny delved deeper, she discovered an old journal written by Thomas himself. The entries were filled with heart-wrenching sorrow and a growing sense of desperation. He wrote of hearing his wife's voice on the wind, of seeing her ethereal figure in the moonlit waves, and of feeling her presence in every corner of the lighthouse. Jenny's investigation led her to a hidden chamber at the top of the lighthouse, a place where Thomas had spent his final days. The walls were adorned with his sketches, hauntingly beautiful renderings of his wife's face, illuminated by the light of the moon. The chamber felt like a shrine, a place where the line between reality and the supernatural had blurred. As Jenny read the final entries of Thomas's journal, a shiver ran down her spine. The entries became disjointed, the handwriting increasingly frantic, as if he had been consumed by his grief. He wrote of strange whispers that echoed through the night, of shadows that moved on their own, and of a voice, his wife's voice, calling to him from the depths of the sea. As the storm outside intensified, Jenny's lantern flickered, casting eerie shadows on the walls. The air grew colder, and a voice that seemed to come from within the very walls of the lighthouse, whispered her name. "Jenny, help, trapped." The voice echoed with a haunting familiarity. As she turned to leave the chamber, she caught a glimpse of a figure, a woman dressed in a gown from a bygone era, standing at the threshold. It was Thomas's wife, her eyes filled with a longing that transcended time. With a mixture of fear and empathy, Jenny listened as the woman's story unfolded. She had been trapped between the realms of the living and the dead, her spirit bound to the lighthouse by her husband's grief and her own lingering pain. She had watched over him, yearning to free him from his suffering, but in doing so had become trapped herself. Jenny knew that she had to break the cycle of sorrow that had held the lighthouse captive for so long. With the storm raging outside, she ventured to the highest point of the lighthouse, the very place where Thomas had spent his final moments. There, in the howling wind and crashing waves, she recited a heartfelt plea, a plea for release, for redemption, for peace. As the final words left her lips, the storm suddenly ceased. The air grew still and the lighthouse seemed to sigh with relief. When Jenny turned, the woman's spectral figure was gone, replaced by a sense of serenity that filled the chamber. As she descended the lighthouse, Jenny knew that she had helped Thomas and his wife find the closure they had so desperately needed. The Beacon's Reach lighthouse was no longer haunted by the weight of their tragedy. Instead, it stood as a testament to the power of love, grief, and the possibility of finding solace even in the most haunted of places. And as Jenny looked back at the lighthouse, its light casting a steady beam into the night, she felt a sense of gratitude and connection with the past. A reminder that the stories we uncover are often woven into the fabric of our own lives. The Whispering Woods Inn. In the heart of the English countryside, nestled between a dense thicket of ancient oaks, stood the Whispering Woods Inn. With its ivy-covered walls and quaint charm, the inn attracted weary travelers seeking respite from the modern world. But beneath its picturesque facade lay a history tainted by darkness. Lucy Grayson, an aspiring writer, arrived at the inn in search of inspiration for her next novel. The moment she crossed the threshold, an eerie feeling settled over her. The innkeeper, an elderly woman named Agnes, greeted Lucy with a knowing smile. "Welcome, my dear, to the Whispering Woods Inn. We offer more than just a place to rest. We offer stories," Agnes said cryptically. Unfazed, Lucy settled into her room, hoping to find the inspiration she so desperately sought. As night fell, a strange sensation washed over her, a sense of being watched, of unseen eyes peering from the shadows. Unable to ignore the feeling, Lucy ventured into the inn's garden, where ancient trees whispered secrets in the wind. As she walked deeper into the woods, the air grew colder, and the trees seemed to close in on her. Whispers echoed through the darkness, faint at first, and then growing louder and more distinct. "Leave. Danger. Escape." Lucy's heart raced as she looked around, her breath visible in the chill. She felt a presence, a figure shrouded in mist, watching her from a distance. Panic surged through her veins, and she fled back to the safety of the inn, her mind racing with questions. The next day, Lucy confided in Agnes about her unsettling experience. The innkeeper's expression grew somber as she shared the history of the Whispering Woods Inn. Decades ago, the inn had been a refuge for travelers, but it had also harbored a dark secret. A group of malevolent spirits, the remnants of those who had met their end within the inn's walls, were trapped in a restless limbo, their voices carried on the wind. Agnes urged Lucy to uncover the truth behind the spirits' plight and bring them the peace they so desperately craved. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Lucy delved into the inn's history, combing through dusty records and archives, seeking the key to unlocking the spirit's torment. As Lucy pieced together the puzzle, she learned of a hidden chamber beneath the inn, a place where unspeakable acts had taken place. The spirits were bound to the inn by a malevolent force, and their tormented whispers were a cry for release. With courage in her heart, Lucy ventured into the hidden chamber, a lantern in hand. The air grew heavy, and shadows danced on the walls as she stepped into the heart of the darkness. The whispers surrounded her, their voices pleading for salvation. As Lucy reached the center of the chamber, she discovered an ancient talisman, a key to breaking the spirit's curse. With the talisman in hand, she began to recite the incantation Agnes had shared with her, her voice ringing out in the oppressive silence. Suddenly, the chamber trembled and a blinding light enveloped Lucy. The spirit's anguished cries grew deafening, and then as quickly as it had begun, everything fell silent. The darkness receded, replaced by a feeling of profound peace. When Lucy emerged from the hidden chamber, the inn felt different, lighter, as if a weight had been lifted. Agnes, waiting outside, nodded in approval. The curse had been broken, and the spirits were finally at rest. In the days that followed, the Whispering Woods Inn seemed to thrive. Its walls no longer held the echoes of the tormented, and the woods outside whispered stories of hope rather than despair. Lucy had found her inspiration, but she had also left an indelible mark on the inn's history. As she bid farewell to Agnes and the inn, Lucy knew that she had not only uncovered a chilling tale of the past, but had also played a role in rewriting its future. The Whispering Woods Inn would forever hold a place in her heart, a reminder that even in the darkest of places, a glimmer of light and redemption could be found.